The western United States is drying up, and that's prompting cities all along the Front Range to act now to ensure we have water in the future. Now, I want you to take a look at this latest drought monitor of the western U.S., just released today. It shows extreme drought across much of the West.
Now, those conditions stretch into northwestern Colorado as well. This is having an effect on the Colorado River, which is causing a domino effect throughout the southwestern U.S. The Colorado River starts in Rocky Mountain National Park, where it falls as snow. The river runs through Utah, Arizona, and into Nevada, where it flows into Lake Mead. 40 million people in these 7 states, including Colorado, rely on the Colorado River for their water.
But this is where the main problems lie. Drought is causing Lake Mead to sink, in fact, to unprecedented levels. Just last week, U.S. officials declared the first ever water shortage on the Colorado around Lake Mead. So how does a reservoir nearly 800 miles away impact us here in Colorado? Well, for one, water restrictions could go into effect in our state to preserve water for the rest of the West.
And these conditions are forcing local municipalities to look at other sources of water. Denver 7's Russell Haythorne takes us to fast-growing Greeley, where city leaders are thinking about the future.
Like most Front Range communities,
traffic, is crazy.
Greeley is experiencing tremendous growth.
Here in Greeley, we're like steady Eddie at 2.5 to 3.5%, year in and year out, almost regardless of what the economic condition is.
Today, the city's population stands at 111,000 people.
Based on census data, state demographer projections, we're going to be 260,000 plus people by the year 2060.
Because of that, planners like Water and Sewer Director Sean Chambers are looking ahead, especially when it comes to water.
And the reality is we have to have a diverse supply.
Greeley is already well positioned with lots of surface water. It's one of the largest shareholders of Colorado Big Thompson water rights with more than 20,000 acre-feet. But much of Greeley's watershed sits in areas recently scorched by wildfire. 50% of Greeley's supply is impacted by the East Troublesome burn scar.
And you get debris and tremendous sediment and ash.
On top of that, another 30% of Greeley's watershed is in the Cameron Peak burn scar.
We've had our source water intake on the Poudre River turned off for about 40 days this summer period. Wow. Because the water quality was too poor to treat.
Because of those issues and a reservoir expansion project that stalled out, Greeley is further diversifying, recently acquiring an underground aquifer called the Terry Ranch Project near the Wyoming border.
This adds a different type of water asset to our portfolio. It's drought-proof. It's reliable.
But the aquifer is not without its critics.
I have great concern that they will not be able to recharge it when it's empty. It's a one-time use.
John Guthrie is Greeley's former chief water engineer and founded Save Greeley's Water, which also has grave concerns about uranium in the aquifer.
And it's no small amount of uranium. It exceeds the Safe Drinking Water Act.
Chambers says the water can be treated.
The science absolutely proves that the uranium can be treated. Those who are saying it's undrinkable are ignoring the science.
And he believes Greeley's plan is right on track.
Absolutely.
In Greeley,
our planning horizon is really about 50 years out to make sure that we're well prepared when that day comes.
Russell Haythorne, Denver 7.
And the water fight isn't isolated to Greeley. Most cities along Colorado's Front Range have water challenges. And for some context here, let's take a look at Thornton. The city bought water rights from farmers in northern Colorado years ago. But the city's plan to build a 72-mile pipeline from north of Fort Collins to Thornton is tied up in the courts. Larimer County is fighting with Thornton over the pipeline's location.
And of course, these water problems didn't just happen overnight, and it could be here for a while. Meteorologist Stacey Donaldson joins us now to give us some insight here. And the West, really, Stacey's been in a drought for a couple of decades now.
It has, and we're really seeing the effects here in person over just the last couple of years with the drought and the dry weather that has moved into the western half of the United States. This is Lake Oroville in California. From June 2019, you can see the real change here from July to 2021, where things have really dried up across the area. And the same for Shasta Lake in California. As we've gone through the last couple of years, it has dried ride out with the drought for the western U.S. And here for Lake Powell, the red line is the same here for 2020 and 2021, but the water level dropped by 30 feet. So the climate change connection is not just affecting heat waves and droughts. It's increased tropical activity, shrinking Arctic ice, and record-setting wildfires. And we're definitely seeing that as we've seen the top 10 hottest years all since 2005 here for the area. Western wildfire frequency also going up as our temperatures have gone up. And we're also experiencing more smoke here for Colorado and the western U.S. as these fires burn out to our west as things dry out. And we're going to be talking more about this smoke that will be affecting us even as we go into this weekend coming up in a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Stacey. Now we'd like to hear from you on this. How do you think Colorado should address water shortage because of this drought? Any ideas? We'd love to hear them. 360 at thedenverchannel.com.